Hello students, this video is to help with data analysis project number 2, which college should I attend revisited. It's for MAT120 elementary statistics for my college now students. I'm going to be showing you how to use Excel to create data displays. This is going to be the first part in a two-part series on trying to create data displays using Excel. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the raw data that I collected. Then I'm going to show you how Excel can be used to make these different charts. And then in the next video, I'm going to talk about two other things that you can do with Excel. So the first thing I'd like to do is talk about the raw data. You might have collected data with a Google form or with another method of data collection, but whatever you got, I asked you to turn it into an Excel spreadsheet, and this is an example. You can see that all the individual respondents are numbered 1 through 20 for anonymity, and then all of their answers for age, gender, approximate GPA, etc. are all arrayed here. So you are able to say that, well, the 15th person that was asked is a 16-year-old who identifies as male. They got a 2.8 GPA. They identify as Asian Pacific Islander. They're from Forest Hills. They want to major in biology. They want to go to Queens College, and they're interested in Queens College because the most desirable quality is small class sizes. From there, the project actually asked you to do a little bit of analysis. You were supposed to select several questions to perform analysis on. That should actually be analyses. Sorry, folks. Each of the sections has to be based on a different question. So the first thing I want to talk about is for a question which gives qualitative data, we're supposed to create a bar graph using Excel. So creating a bar graph using Excel is actually very simple. All we need to do is take one of the questions that we asked and use Excel's insert tool to make it into a bar graph. So we'll bring it back to Excel, and when I looked at this data, I identified one of the pieces of data, one of the questions to do a bar graph on. And that piece of data, that question was ethnicity. So if you take a look here, what I did was I took the information and just pasted it into a separate sheet at the bottom. You're always able to make new sheets by going to this plus. It says new sheet. So what I did was I just took this data, just this question. I went to file copy. Oops, sorry, not file copy, but home copy. So I copied that entire column. I made a new sheet and I pasted it in. So you can see all of these answers are the answers that we got from the respondents. Now what I'd like to do is try to get a count of each of the individual ethnicities or identified ethnicities. So what I'm going to do is try to figure out each of the individual ones, like how many different ones there are, and then I'm going to ask Excel to count them up for me. So I'll do a little analysis here. It looks like white occurs fairly often, so I'll take white and put it over here. I'm going to make a new column, which is ethnicities. And I like to make the headers bold, so you can press Control B, or you can also go to the B up here and make it bold. So white was definitely an ethnicity. Hispanic was also one, so I'll go grab that. Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Black, African American, and Asian Pacific Islander. If I want to select both this one and this one at the same time, I'm going to start on this cell, hold down Shift, I'm holding down the Shift button, and then press the down arrow on my keyboard. Now I have both of those cells highlighted, and I can Control C to copy them and Control V to paste them over here. If you're using a Mac, well, I have no idea how to use a Mac, so sorry about that. You're going to have to ask somebody who knows. I already have white over there, but I don't have other, so I'm going to grab that. I'm going to press Control C and then Control V. And I'm going to look over cursorially here, and I don't see any other ones that aren't already accounted for. Now it looks like I have everything. Great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Excel to count these, and there's a number of different ways that I can do that. So now I'm going to ask Excel to count these for me by making a formula. If you remember from class, the first thing I want to do in order to make a formula is press the equals. Equals tells Excel, now you're going to be doing some calculations or some fancy stuff. I'm going to use the COUNTIF formula, and I type in COUNTIF, C-O-U-N-T-I-F, and COUNTIF has a very specific job. If you want to, you can go online and research all the different functions in Excel. It'll take you a long time, and there's actually a lot of really cool things that Excel can do. I'm just going to talk about a few of them today. COUNTIF counts the number of cells within a range. A range is just like a list of cells that meets the given condition. So I'm going to give it the condition, and I'm going to give it a range. I'm going to say, in this list, find all the ones that say the word white. So I'm going to put an open parentheses, And it says the range and the criteria. Well, this is the range I want it to look at. I want it to look at all of the ones in this column. So instead of me typing in the range, I'm just going to click and highlight all of these things. And it tells me the range is A2, which makes sense because this is cell A2, and this is A21. And then I'm going to give it the criteria. The criteria I want it to look for is the word, the very specific word, white. So I'm going to put quote, W-H-I-T-E, end quote. And then I'm going to close my parentheses. That's going to count all the ones that say white. Looks like there are 7. Amazing. There's another way to do this too. So I want it to find this word, Hispanic. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use equals countif. And I'm going to use the parentheses. I can type in my range by myself. So if I want it to search from A2 to A21, I'll say A2 all the way to, the colon means keep going until you get to A21. And notice that it automatically popped that in. Go back and rewind the video and watch it again if you didn't see that. It's really cool. Then I'm going to put a comma. Now for criteria, I'm going to not even type it in myself. I know that the criteria is the word Hispanic, which is located in D3. So I'm going to say D3. Notice it highlights Hispanic in a different color. That's my criteria. I'm going to close the parentheses and press enter. Now it finds 6 different instances of the word Hispanic. Notice if I change this to something else, something like alien, there are no extraterrestrials that were in the survey. So I'm going to do Control Z to undo that. It's Hispanic that we're looking for, and there are only 6. Next, we can do Black African American. I'm going to do the same thing, equals countif. And then I'm going to go from A2 to A21. And the criteria is I'm looking for what's in D4, so D4. Great. One other cool thing I can do is I can take this box and I can drag it down so that it uses the same formula for this box and the same formula for this box. There's one thing you have to look out for though. So I just told Excel, look for Black African American and count them here. Look for Asian Pacific Islander and put them here. Look for other and put it here. The problem is that this range, we told it from A2 to A21, is going to change by 1 every time we drag it. So now notice that this is A2 to A21, that's where it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to change from A4 to A23 because there's nothing down here and we're losing a few up here. So we could go back and manually change it, but there's another way to make Excel remember that. I'm going to press Control Z to undo that. If I want my range to stay static, and this is a little bit of an advanced trick, so if you don't need this, that's fine. If I want my range to stay static, I'm going to use $ before the letter and the number. The $ just means that letter and number will never change. So if I put in a $ here, and a $ here, a $ here, and a $ here before the number and the letter, it's still going to do the same thing. But when I click and drag it, notice that the A2 to A21 didn't change. The A2 to the A21 didn't change. But D4 went to D5 and then went to D6. Okay? So now we have our count of all the different ethnicities and how many there are. We can take this and easily make this into a bar graph. I'm going to click and highlight all of the data, all of the count that we just made. Then I'll go to my Insert tab. It's here. In my recommended charts, there's a bunch of different ones if you're using this version of Excel, which you probably should be. I'm going to click on Insert Column or Bar Chart, and I'm going to choose a 2D column. And look, it's essentially just made right there for me. There are a lot of things that I could do. I could change colors. There are fill colors that you can make a pattern fill where it looks kind of cute, gives you little stripies or checkerboards. It doesn't really matter what you do. I prefer something that's a little straightforward. But yeah, there's your bar graph, and I basically did question number 2 for you. The last thing that I'm going to show you how to do in this video is to make a pie chart. It asks you to do a pie chart for a question that gives discrete quantitative data. That was in the assignment here. It asks you to create a pie chart for discrete quantitative data. So I'm going to go back to my raw data. Remember, I had that in my separate sheet here in Excel. And it looks like I have a lot of different things to choose from. Actually, not really, because I'm looking for discrete quantitative data. So the only discrete quantitative, this is continuous as it is decimal form. I would call this discrete because we can't really cut it in half. So we're going to take the ages and we're going to do a little analysis on them, try to make it into a pie chart. Again, I'm going to copy this column and I'm going to put it into its own separate sheet. I've already copied over my ages until this separate sheet, and I've also done my counting. I used my count if formula. Notice I used my dollar signs here, and I asked for Excel to figure out if it says 14, how many of them are there? If it says 16 or 17, how many of them are there? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask Excel to make my circle graph or my pie graph. But what I want to show you is that Excel is sometimes not great at figuring out what it wants you to do or what you want it to do. So I'm going to go to Insert and try to go to the pie charts. When I click pie charts, notice that this pie chart doesn't look right. There should be 8 17s, but all of these are very, very similarly sized. It shouldn't be the same, right? Excel is confused because everything here is numerical in nature. I asked it to do a pie chart, and it's not sure which of these is going to be the wedge and which of these is going to be the label. So I have to do one of two things in order to make that happen. I just press Control-Z to get rid of that. I'm actually going to give you an example of why that happened. So here's my example. In my example, I did a little analysis of the reindeer names. You're familiar with the reindeer song, hopefully. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, etc. All of those reindeer names have different starting letters, and the counts are here. I was able to simply select all of them and go to Insert and go to Pie Chart, and it created a correct pie chart because these values were qualitative data and these were quantitative. So it was very explicit, like Excel knew right away which one was going to be the labels and which one was going to be the actual data. So we actually just have to tell Excel which one is labels and which one is data. So I'm going to go back to my pie chart data, which is the data on ages. You see I have my row labels here and my counts here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Excel to make me a pie chart and then tell it what the data should be. So I'm going to go to Insert first. Notice I haven't highlighted anything. I'm going to go to Charts and then 2D Pie. Now notice that it's blank because I didn't select any data. I'm going to right click and go to Select Data. And I'm going to tell the data I'm going to tell Excel where the data is. This is the data. It's not the labels. This is the data. So I'm clicking and highlighting all of the data, not highlighting the top, right? We're not highlighting the header. So I've given it the data. Now I need to tell it what the actual labels are. So notice it says horizontal category axis labels. I want this to say 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So I'm going to click Edit. And for Edit, I'm going to say, well, this is my label data, or these are my categories. And then I'll press OK. And then I've given it all the information. Series 1 is all of these. Series 1 is the data. And then the axis labels, or the categories, that's 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. If I click OK, it's made my pie chart beautifully. There are a lot of things that you can do with customization. You could click in here and add in labels inside. You can change the chart title to, let's say, for example, ages of respondents. And there's a lot of customization that could go on, but that's essentially how you make the pie chart. So what I've done in this video is I've shown you how to do the first couple of problems in the data analysis project number 2, which college should I attend? If you have any questions, please send me an email. All right, students, good luck.